Hi guys, so in this video, I'm going to show you how we at the agency do demographic based targeting post the recent iOS update. Some of you may be aware that recently Apple launched a new privacy feature where people can opt out auto being tracked. So that directly affected a lot of online campaigns where the targeting had to change compared to how we used to do things previously. So in this video, I will touch on this and show you how we target people with this new feature in place. So I hope you enjoy this. Okay, so what you're looking at right now on my screen is the ad set level of new Facebook campaign where I have to pick my audience. So it goes without saying that, the audience that you pick is very, very important. You want to make sure that the creative you write and the ad that you use connects well with the audience that you're targeting. So think very carefully about that specific campaign and who it may resonate with and who you want to go after and choose your audience accordingly. So you can ignore custom audiences. Is not relevant for this video. The first thing that you need to consider is the location. So when you pick a location, you can choose different types of characteristics. So people who are living in a certain location, people who have recently been in that location, or people who are traveling in this location, you can choose based on which one is relevant to your business. So in this particular example, I will use people living in this location. Next up, you have to pick your geographical location. So is it going to be countrywide, or is it going to be statewide, county-wise, or even city-wise? You can, for example, target people based on people who are actually living in London.
This is London, baby.
Facebook will only show your ad to people within this radius itself. So if you have a particular store that only caters to this particular geographical region, you can go to that level. However, if you don't have a geographical limitation, you can go nationwide, and you can even pick certain locations that you think you're getting more customers from. So if you have a business that you have clearly seen that you're getting more customers from Birmingham or Manchester or London, but not so much from let's say Scotland or Wales, so you can go and place your ads in cities that are most popular with your customers. So that's something to think about. You can even look at your Facebook page insights, go into your Facebook page followers and see the common locations of your followers and maybe go according to that. That's something we do within the agency.
Oh yeah?
For this example, let's just keep it very simple, and I'm gonna keep my targeting as to people living in United Kingdom. Okay, so then next up we have to pick the age of the audience. So you have the option of going from as low as 13 years of age to as high as 65 years old. We generally don't advertise to anyone under the age of 18. There are quite a few advertising policies that you need to be aware of if you're targeting to these audiences. So I'm not going to speak much on that. We will keep our audience generally between 18 and upwards. So if you have a business that is obviously capped at a certain age, where let's say you're selling, let's say wedding related products, and most likely people who are getting married are probably at the highest level, maybe 40 to 45 years old. You want to cap at that. You don't want to target a 65-year-old with a wedding-based product or service. So just keep that in mind. Another thing is gender. So obviously this is very straightforward. You can pick the audience that is relevant to you. However, don't just think of the person who's actually buying. Think of the people who will probably have some sort of influence in that decision. So for example, if you're targeting men with a certain product, it may not just be men who are actually in that decision. So there are other people who may be involved in that decision. Maybe it's a wife who actually shares it with the husband and convinces the husband to get it.
Please,
I don't know.
please.
Or it could be the other way around, where the man shares it with the wife and so on. So you want to not just think of who's the exact buyer of your product, but people who are involved in that decision as well. So that's something to think about. Next up is your detailed targeting. Now this is one area that got significantly affected after the recent iOS update, where iOS users can opt out of being tracked. So what happened was because the amount of data Facebook has now is a lot less compared to before this feature was launched. So what you want to do now compared to previous times is go more broader. So for example, if you're selling wedding dresses, what you want to do is, rather than just picking wedding dress as a targeted interest, you want to also pick other related interests. So for example, wedding photography or wedding videography, wedding reception, because what we're doing is feeding more and more information to Facebook system where they have a certain idea of your buyer's persona. So rather than going narrow with your targeting with a specific interest, I would go more broader, because now Facebook needs more information to go after the right audience. And this is what recently, when I had a chat with one of the Facebook marketing experts as well from Facebook, this is what they directly advise us to do. So make sure you go broad, don't go too narrow where you only select one or two interests. I would say about 4 interests is a good selection, and make sure these are complementary interests, not the same interest in a different way. So just make sure it's complementary. You can also exclude certain people. Now, if you notice that as of late your sales from iOS devices have really declined, you can actually opt out of targeting people who only use Apple devices. So for example, I can actually tell Facebook to make sure that my ad is not seen by iOS users. So if I just type that in, you can see here that I can exclude people who actually use iOS devices. Now this is the interest, so make sure that you use the devices, not the interest. So we can remove that. So you can see the mobile device that this particular person is using is Apple. So you can actually exclude them. However, what we have seen is that more iOS users tend to have higher purchasing power compared to Android users. So I wouldn't generally recommend you to exclude iOS users. It is only a temporary solution. There are other things that you need to patch up to make sure you overcome the challenges of the iOS update. I'll not cover all that in this video.
It's a lot more complicated than that.
So, okay, so you can narrow your audience in that way, or in another way as well. You can even limit it from certain people that actually even follow your page. If you want to get new followers, you can exclude people who currently follow you. If you want to avoid people who have purchased from you before, if you're running a first time purchase offer, you can avoid all that by narrowing down your audience this way. Detailed targeting expansion. Now this really depends whether you should use it or not, depends on what type of stage you're at. So if you're an agency and you're doing manual level targeting between different campaigns and different ad sets rather, you can exclude this, because if you use this, then Facebook will show your ad to multiple different interests based on what Facebook's AI thinks is a better audience. So you won't necessarily know which one of these interests or which one of these audiences are performing better. However, if you're a business owner and if you're running your campaigns on your own, you may just want to keep this on, because what Facebook will do is, based on their artificial intelligence, they will optimize your campaigns and run it to the most relevant audience that will help you get the best results. Now you can see that I've selected a broad audience. It's in the green. Make sure that you don't pick a campaign that is too specific, and you can get an estimated reach of your campaign based on your audience selection and your budget. As you can see, based on my campaign, I can reach between 2,600 to 7,500 people per day, and I'll probably get between this many clicks on average day. So that probably covers everything when it comes to audience selection. You can actually even use language-based targeting as well. So we generally target English. We keep this open because we don't narrow it down by this, but if that applies to your business, feel free to do so. That's about it when it comes to demographic targeting on Facebook. So I hope you found this video useful. If you have any questions, do let me know. Until then, I'll leave it here for now. All right, thank you. Bye-bye.